The quarterbacks were just not ready. Corey Dennis apparently missed a meeting. That's the rumor. We're going to try our best to clarify some of it. There's still a lot of gray fogginess going on out there. When we say something that is a rumor, we'll say this is a rumor. When we say this is a fact, this is a fact. That we know. This I know. He did miss a meeting. That is what I have learned. It was rumored that evening after the game. I believe Austin Ward hinted at it. We didn't know who it was he was hinting at. Corey Dennis was the one that apparently missed a meeting. And boy, did it show. Because your quarterbacks weren't ready, and that's your room. Chris, the rumor was he went to a concert.
Yes.
That's not necessarily, it's true, but that's not the reason why he
Right.
missed a meeting.
Right.
You want to clarify that for everybody?
Well, the rumor was originally that he had missed this meeting to go to a concert. What I am hearing, though, is that from multiple sources have said he did indeed go to a concert along with Justin Fry and Brian Hartline. However, this concert occurred after the day's activities and was part of the Bowl Week festivities. So we do not know 100% for sure why he was not at the meeting. What we do know is that the quarterback room was ill prepared, and it ended up causing one kid to get injured, and another one may have PTSD from what he experienced.
That's a fact. That's a fact. They weren't ready.
That's true. They weren't ready. This is the part that just boggles my mind, Eric. First of all, I think we all know how Corey Dennis got his job. Okay, he was a nepotism hire. And the assumption has always been that Ryan Day is our quarterback guru, correct?
Correct.
We kind of thought that Corey Dennis was there, but not really there. But I don't care who was in charge of that room. We have had Devin Brown for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We have just completed our first season with Lincoln Keenholz. Both of these guys, you can't say this was quarterback 2 and quarterback 3 because we knew a month in advance that McCord was out.
Correct.
That means we could have been taking those days that we were laid off since we only had 6 practices.
Light practices.
We could have taken those days and dedicated that to preparing the guy who was going to be your number 1 and your number 2.
Mm-hmm.
There was no preparation there, Eric. None whatsoever. And at first I wanted to jump up and down about the quarterback situation. And it'd be easy to blame the quarterbacks for looking bad, but it's not their fault, Eric.
No.
They were not prepared. They were set up for failure, not success.
Well, this goes all the way back to April of 2023 when you and I sat down and we basically said, if this offensive line doesn't get better, they're going to kill somebody. Kyle McCord played hurt this season. Devin Brown played hurt this season. And now Lincoln Keenholz probably mentally is hurt.
Yeah.
And so even though we're talking about Corey Dennis, and I'm going to specifically get to him in a second, the fact that, and I'm throwing Brian Hartline in this too, the fact that all 3 of them went to this concert. Now, the only thing I can say is if they went by themselves and this wasn't a team thing, and they're the only 3 who went, what's the side of the ball that suffered? Why didn't Larry Johnson go? Why didn't Jim Knowles go? Why didn't
they were too daggone busy getting their team ready?
Why didn't Eliano go? Like, why wasn't any of the defensive coaches mentioned? It's because they were focused on their players, their room, and their team, and what showed up, the defense. Yeah. So if this was a team thing, which I highly doubt because you don't hear about the defensive coaches going.
Correct.
But if this was a team thing, then I apologize for saying what I'm saying. But if it wasn't, and even though it might have been a part of the bowl celebration, if your players don't go, if they're not allowed to go, then you as the leader need to be with your players. This is serious. You could have used this opportunity to springboard. I'm talking Brian Hartline here. Carnell Tate,
Absolutely.
Brandon Ennis, and now you've got two freshmen, Rogers, Noah Rogers, and the other Rogers, Bryson Rogers, who said bye-bye.
Yeah.
So the offensive line suffered, the wide receivers suffered, the quarterback suffered. All three coaches of those three rooms were the ones who went to the concert.
Yeah.
And before you make an argument that the wide receiver room didn't suffer, go look at the statistics.
Yeah.
It absolutely did. And like you said, Chris, Brian Hartline supposedly is the OC. Now, let me get
back. I
can't
put all that on him either because Ryan Day still hasn't released the reins.
Correct. Let's get back to Corey Dennis. You made the comment that Corey Dennis is essentially not truly the quarterback's coach. We still believe it is to be Ryan Day. Ryan Day's wearing three hats. He's wearing the hat of head coach, of offensive coordinator, and quarterback's coach.
But whose fault is that, Eric?
That's his own. But if that's the case, then why is Corey Dennis employed?
Good question. Very good question.
He's glorified babysitter? A $450,000 babysitter? Essentially, that's what it is.
Exactly.
It's terrible. That is, and again, bad decision, right? Who made that decision? Ryan Day.
To hire him or to keep him?
Both. Ryan Day. That was Ryan Day's decision. You know, I can see Urban Meyer literally would be the first person who would probably fire Corey Dennis.
Oh, absolutely. If he
even though it's his son-in-law.
If he wasn't getting what was expected, Urban wouldn't hesitate. Because Urban's got that killer instinct and that have to win attitude.
So if I could have been a bug on the wall, right, of the meeting that took place that Corey Dennis didn't show up to, if you have the gumption and the standard to basically bench Carson Hinsman, then where is that standard for Corey Dennis?
Yes, there should have been something. I mean, literally, I would have even issued a notice that he was suspended without pay for the bowl game due to his extracurricular activities or his inability to follow team rules.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Crickets. It's January 2nd, and he's still employed at this moment.
And it's another reason that I think, these players are smart guys, Eric. They sit back and they see what's going on.
Sure.
That's why I think we're going to see a ton of transfers. That's why you've got guys who may have been considering coming back that I think will now go to the NFL draft. Maybe guys like Michael Hall Jr., who I don't think we're ready yet, may make that move because they see what's going on within that coaching staff. And I said it on Sunday. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Right.
These guys are smart. They know. They know if things don't change exactly what's going to happen. And that next year, it's not just going to be me who's rabid screaming for people's jobs. You're going to have all of Buckeye Nation rabid and screaming for people's jobs. And if I'm these players, I don't want to be at the center of all that.
Right. No, it's really it becomes hard for the players because these are the gentlemen, the men that you're entrusting to develop you to get you to the next level,
Yes.
to lead you to your goals as a team, as individuals, but also as a team. And when those goals, the failure to meet those goals happens, you have to ask tough questions. We're asking the tough questions tonight, but in all honesty, Chris, these are questions that should be being asked inside of Ryan Day's office
Yes.
weeks ago. Now, I'm not saying they haven't. Maybe they have. Maybe the conversation with Gene Smith about the future of Justin Fry, Corey Dennis, etc. Maybe Parker Fleming. He should be the first one to go. Maybe these conversations have already taken place, and I just don't know yet. But here we are on January 2nd,
Crickets.
and I'm still not hearing anything. Um, Urban Meyer, he he took immediate action when things were not up to the standard. And as Ryan Day is going to have to learn, like Aaron says, he's going to have to learn to be a killer. We all scream for angry Ryan Day. Ryan Day's a super nice guy. He cares a lot about people and their mental health and things, and that's all wonderful. Those are great things. But when
But they don't win big football games, Eric.
your ability to continue to do those things depends on your success on the football field. You're
I,
not
I
gonna you're not gonna be able to continue to contribute millions of dollars to on your sleeve if you're not the head football coach of Ohio State.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that Ryan Day, the offensive coordinator, was brilliant. He was
He was awesome.
gutsy. He was innovative.
Mm-hmm.
He he just he went for it, but he didn't ultimately have to be in the big chair and answer for it either.
Correct.
Now he's in the big chair. There are some people who are meant to be head coaches and some people who are meant to be coordinators. Right now, I feel like Ryan Day is meant to be a coordinator.
I thought it was so telling in the pre-bowl game news conferences when Ryan Day is sitting right next to Coach Drinkwitz from Missouri. And the question was asked to Coach Drinkwitz on how Missouri went from basically 6-6 to 10-2. And he said, I took a long, hard look in the mirror and realized that I was doing a disservice to my team and to the players by trying to wear too many hats. And they didn't need me to be an offensive coordinator. They needed me to be a head coach, to be a leader of
Yes.
this program. And that meant I turned over the reins to someone else to call the plays. Ryan Day sitting in that room when that answer was given.
Yeah.
You,
It
I,
was almost like Drinkowitz was trying to, give him a little piece of free advice.
yes, it's like I know he heard that. I know he heard that answer. If he refuses to take this opportunity to do that very thing, and I've heard this. Well, the reason why he's afraid to do that is because if he has to bring someone in, it means that Brian Hartline's not ready to call plays. You can convince Brian Hartline to stay if the person you bring in is going to teach him how to call plays. Because it was
Yeah.
obvious Ryan Day wasn't doing that this year.
No, no. And we'd all talked about Chip Kelly at one point. We'd all talked
Hmm.
about, just several different people have been mentioned who have that play calling ability. And especially if it's someone older, I think you could convince Brian Hartline to stay. Say, listen, this guy's going to come in. He's going to mentor you on this play calling for 2 years, 3 years. You're going to be co-offensive coordinators at that point. After a year, 2, 3 years, whatever you're going to do, the agreed upon time, you're going to become the full-on offensive coordinator. You're calling all the plays. The show is all yours.
Right.
Brian Hartline loves Ohio State. He loves the game of football. And I think that he would be more than willing to do that if you were going to help him achieve his ultimate goal.
Right. And you don't have to pay him less. He's not
No.
taking he's not taking a pay cut.
Hell, we can take some of that money that's going to Corey Dennis, Parker Fleming, and Justin Fry and give it to the guy.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we talk about the quarterback coach. That's another whole situation where, and I know that we'd had this talk, and really he's better as a receivers coach, but I felt like we made a huge miss when Smooth Jazz got picked up by Luke Fickle in Wisconsin.
Yep. Kenny,
But
Luke Fickle beat Ryan Day to the punch on Kenny Guyton.
yeah,
Beat him to the punch.
why? Because Luke Fickle has a killer instinct. He knew that Kenny Guyton was in play, and he went for it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now there's a guy who's floating around the NFL
Yeah.
who we need to go
Mm-hmm.
out and tap for that quarterback coaching job, and that's one JT Barrett.
JT Barrett's quarterback's coach at Detroit Lions right now.
If you look, Eric,
Playoff, the
at the
playoff Detroit
Detroit
Lions.
with a resurgent Jared Goff, a
Right.
guy who was all but written off, is now putting up these great numbers as the quarterback for the Detroit Lions. But you've got JT out there, and if you look in the Buckeyes that we've brought back to coach, have we missed on one yet? I think Walton's doing a pretty daggone good job. What do you think?
Walton next to Jim Knowles, Walton had the next best year on this staff.
Hartline's done a solid job for what he's been able to do.
Hartline has had a really good run, yes, especially as a recruiter.
Laurinaitis came in. He made an impact, even though he's not a full coach. I feel like he made an impact in our linebacker room, and also a little bit in recruiting with the kid we picked up. Was it out of Texas, I believe, the linebacker that he helped sway away from Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We have not missed when we've brought a Buckeye back, Eric.
And to piggyback on that, Laurinaitis needs to be a full-time coach on this staff.
Has to be a full-time coach next year. Has to be.
You cannot let him not get on the road and recruit. That's a total failure.
If you don't have him as a full-time coach next year, you know who I bet would? Luke Fickle.
Luke Fickle. Yeah. Marcus Freeman would take him back.
Would take him back. Absolutely.
So there are so many instances, but circling back around to just the quarterbacks. The argument that Ryan Day said this multiple times. He said it at halftime, and he said it in the postgame. We were out there with our third string quarterback. No, you weren't.
No, you weren't.
You were not. The very second Kyle McCord walked out of your office
that man and told
you I'm going into the portal, Lincoln Kienholz became your backup quarterback, and the entire concentration of yourself and Corey Dennis was to get Devin Brown ready to start and Lincoln Kienholz ready to back him up in case something happened.
And neither one was ready.
And the fact, and I heard this, the fact he was running scout team. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Now, again, this question was asked: was Tristan Gibbia available? Yes. Why didn't he play? He wasn't third on the depth chart. Yes, he was, because this guy who you're calling third was second. And if Tristan Gibbia wasn't running Ohio State's offense as the backup, then that meant you had two quarterbacks running scout team?
Yeah. I don't buy it for a second.
Come on. That is the mental math that you're making people do is incorrect. So if Tristan or if Lincoln Kienholz is truly running scout team, what in God's name was Tristan Gibbia doing on this roster if he wasn't preparing himself to be the backup for Devin Brown?
Yeah. I wish I knew, Eric. I wish I could tell you. But you know what? And don't give me the third string or second string, whatever crap anymore, anyhow. It wasn't that long ago. Urban Meyer took a third string quarterback and won a national title.
Different situation. That third string quarterback was a
prepared.
Junior, but he was ready because he wasn't there to play school. I got you. I'm following you. But did you watch Tennessee's third string quarterback go in and score 35 points against Iowa, the most Iowa's given up all year?
Yeah.
Now, granted, you know why?
He was prepared.
They prepared him. This argument of an excuse of our third string quarterback is it's exactly what it is. It's an excuse.
Yes.
It's an excuse, and I'm taking that excuse away from you because that should not have been the case. You should have had him ready. But instead, you've got coaches who are going to country concerts instead of sitting down with the young man, going over the playbook,
Yes.
quizzing him, getting him ready, talking about scenarios. You're out there enjoying the boot scoot and boogie down in Texas. That is why we're upset as Buckeye Nation.
And
So
you
all
knew it
these
was going to
people,
happen, Eric. That's the bad part. You knew it. When you made that line change, you knew it.
yes. So all these people who are like, you guys are just being so hard on this coaching staff. No, we're holding them accountable for what they should be doing. Do you think Missouri's coaching staff was down there enjoying the boot scoot and boogie? Or do you think they were getting their team ready to beat you?
I'd say they did the boot scooting boogie all over Ryan Day's face, is what they did.
So when you walked off the field, Ohio State coaching staff, when you walked off the field with long faces and they're celebrating the Cotton Bowl victory, that feeling is because they wanted it more. You're showing us as fans that you didn't want it as much as they did. So spare me the you're being too hard on Ryan Day and the coaching staff. We're not. We're just responding to the facts that are being given to us that this coaching staff thought their priorities were different than what we
And
feel they
and
should be.
I want to comment to one other thing I saw on social media today, Eric, and it had to do with the whole fact that everybody was being so hard on the coaches. When it's not the coach's fault, the coaches don't execute on the field. You know what? The coaches are in charge of getting those kids ready to execute on the field.
Yes. Yes.
And when they have that much of it, you don't put that kind of uh, you know blame on the kids who were not properly prepared. Yeah, you had a handful of light practices for a month, and then decided to try to practice for a week. Well, one of your coaches at least is out concerting it up and and not doing what he's supposed to be doing. You got another offensive lineman who, for Hinsman to go on, and I hate to circle back to the beginning of the show, but for Hinsman to go on that show and share all those things he did, I have to feel there was some animosity there anyhow.
Sure.
There was
Sure.
animosity there, either about the situation in the Woody or with particular coaches,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't believe for a second that otherwise this kid would have went out and started, spilling the laundry. So we have a definite coaching problem at Ohio State, Eric. you know, we may not all agree that Ryan Day is the biggest part of the coaching problem, but I think we can definitely say for sure that we got an issue in the quarterback room, the offensive line, and the special teams.
Yeah. I would say the majority of Buckeye Nation agrees that Corey Dennis should be fired. And I
And I
think
believe Fry as well.
I think his contract actually runs out this year, Corey
But
Dennis.
but let
So,
me tell you one other
but
thing. Mickey Mariota does not need fired. It is not Mick's fault
no, you need to let
that
him
these
loose. You need to let
guys.
him go.
Yes,
You need to take the
it is. He
handcuffs
is
off of
not
him.
the one who's holding these kids back.
Yeah. And one more thing. If these kids, as you're calling them, if the Buckeyes feel that what is going on is really hard and difficult and just it's too taxing on them, just wait until the next coach comes in if it's an Urban Meyer like guy. That 2012, Urban Meyer had them boys up running in the snow at
Yes.
6 a.m.
And
And
what did
he
they do that year, Eric?
they went 12-0.
Yeah. Thanks, Gene Smith.
They should have won
Bye,
a national
Felicia.
champion. They should have won a national championship over Notre Dame that year because that's who we would have played, not Alabama. We would have been in the national championship and we would have smoked. We would have smoked Notre Dame. But here we are, Chris, and we're going to turn the page now.
Yes.
We're going to turn the page. We're going to talk about the successes of this season this upcoming Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern on our live show. It'll be our Buckeye Award show, our I believe this will be our
Fourth?
fifth,
Fifth.
19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Fifth. Our fifth Buckeye Award show. Um, so we'll be doing that. We want to invite you to come be live, a part of that show this Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern. Please like, share, subscribe, give us the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified every time there's a new video or when we go live.